What's up, gang? Just getting ready to shoot the video for next week's warm-up drills. Another good week of training so far with the mask. I hope you all enjoyed the tweak and change of our programming style. It's going to be here for a little while, it looks like. So, like I said, get used to the style of training where we build in temporary ways or times of going outside in the middle of the workout, but still able to get a very cohesive and well-rounded workout in the gym and some good variety as we go. If you have suggestions or feedback on the whole scenario, we are always very open to hearing that, and like I said, always appreciate the input from you guys. So without further ado, let's start getting our warm-up on. I'm going to back up so we can see my feet here a little bit. So let's start off with some neck rolls. We've done these before, but these are going to lead into something a little bit different. So we're imagining that right at the base of your neck here, your cervical spine, we're just rotating above one point. As you do this, I want you to imagine like controlling the range of motion as opposed to just kind of letting your neck go lax. Switch directions. Okay, so if you imagine you're kind of rotating, like maybe right around even with your collarbone for that drill. We're going to do the same idea, and I want you to imagine rotating at your spine, but as if like from like your rib cage and below, that part of your spine is going to be in the same spot, and everything else is just going to move above it. So I like to kind of like cross my arms at the top, and I'm just going to do that same rotation idea through the middle part of my spine, through the thoracic part of my spine. And like I said, from about even with the bottom of your rib cage down, we're just imagining that that part of your spine is just stuck in place, and we're rotating above it, just moving around. Go ahead and switch directions. This is an area that's often pretty stuck down, pretty glued together, especially if you spend extended periods of time in front of a screen. So this is a nice way, A, to get some movement through there, but B, and maybe more importantly, just to get some familiarity with what it feels like to move through it safely and comfortably. The more you do move it, the more you'll become accessible and just familiar to use daily. This definitely benefits some of the movements that we use in the gym. Okay. So we are rotating kind of from here up, and then this last one should be familiar, just from like the base of your spine down towards your pelvis here. We're just going to make some circles. So where this may differ a little bit is we don't want the hips moving so much, so we're just trying to rotate as if from our hips down are just set in some concrete. Take your time. It won't be quite as aggressive as like when we do the inflatable man. Go ahead and switch directions. But just kind of picking 3 different spots of our spine and focusing a little bit of rotation there. There we go. Okay, then we're going to put the arms out to the side. And we're just going to start with real gentle circles, rotating backwards. As you start to get a few reps here, we're going to go a little bit bigger. And we're going to go a little bit bigger. And bigger. And bigger. Until eventually, we're at the biggest circle we can. Control. Arms are staying straight, and we're just getting about 10 big rotations at this amplitude. Let's slow it down and bring it back to the beginning. Whew! And shake out the arms a second. We're going to do the same thing going forward. So arms are out to the side. Small circles forward. A little bit bigger. A little bit bigger. Be careful here so you don't take off and fly up into the fans. and bigger, until again, we're able to get 10 really big circles. You may find that the forward orientation is a little bit harder than the back orientation. And let it come to a rest. Then we're going to get down into the bottom of the squat. I feel like we're going to include this as part of our warm-up pretty much indefinitely. But let's just bounce here at the bottom of the squat, open up the hips, the knees, the ankles, your feet. Just tell the whole lower part of your body, we're going to do some stuff. We're going to do some stuff. So we're going to go through a bit of a transition sequence here. The idea is do it any way that you can, pain-free or in a safe way. So if that means using your hands, that's fine. If that means, easing into and out of it, one knee at a time, it's completely up to you. But the idea, I'll show you from the front and from the side. We're going to go down into this squat. We're going to get into a kneeling position, the balls of your feet, and transition into a kneeling position. And then I'm going to sit so that the tops of my feet are on the floor and I'm sitting on my heels. Then I'm going to transition back to the balls of my feet. I'm going to rock back and do a squat, and I'm going to stand up. Show you from the side. So I'm going to squat down, forward to the knees, sit, and then trace my steps on the way back up. Ideally, this whole thing has a quality to it where you're controlling your range of motion. So there's no slamming. It's just one steady flow in and out of it. So again, we're going to squat down under control. We're going to transition onto the knees, feet, and sit back. Transition forward onto the balls of your feet, into a squat, and stand. Here's how we can do it with your hands. We'll squat down. The hands go down just slightly. Put the knees to the floor. We're going to sit back onto the heels. Hands help us transition to the balls of your feet. Maybe you can even sit here for a moment and stretch through your big toe or through your foot. But when you're ready, put the hands down. We transition into a squat. And then we stand. We're going to go through that 5 total times. Once you finish it, we're just going to stay down on the last one. We're on the knees. We're going to get into a tabletop position. We do some drills here. They're familiar. We'll start with one that we've done before, which is the thread the needle. So I want you to take your left hand, place it underneath your sternum. You're going to rotate your hand up overhead, and I want you to take a big breath in through your nose. And then you're going to exhale and reach as far as you can underneath without touching the floor. Inhale. Exhale. Five times. Switch sides. Inhale as you rotate up. Exhale as you reach. Other drill that we're going to do down at the bottom of this tabletop position are some hip circles. So I'm going to have you balance on one knee and the other 2 hands, and with your free leg, we're just going to trace 5 circles, really controlled, not going for speed or anything. 5 with the largest circles you can in one direction. Just take inventory of how this feels through the full range of motion. And then we'll go 5 in the other direction. Pay special attention to areas that feel especially either tight or especially weak where you want to rush through it. And that's the area that you want to spend the most focus on. After 5 and 5, let's switch sides. Hopefully by now the body is feeling pretty warm. Let's go ahead and get up and tackle the class.